Hey everyone, Ollie here. So excuse any noise outside, there are some building works going on. Hopefully it doesn't come up on the mic too much. But yeah, we have the iPhone 14 Pro. So I've gone with the space black version now. They've gotten rid of the space grey and they've gone for a darker sort of space black version. The box is as expected, just a standard sort of like thin style box, no charging brick or anything. So let's get straight into it. So we'll peel this bit here, peel like so. And then if we actually have a look inside, so yeah, here we are, the iPhone 14 Pro in space black. Now, the first thing I noticed is the camera bump. I think it's bigger this year, but I'm not completely sure because it looks very big here. So I have my space gray iPhone 13 Pro here. So I have my space gray iPhone 13 Pro here, and I'll be honest, it looks pretty much exactly the same. I was expecting the space black to be darker than the space grey. It is not darker really by much whatsoever. Probably like 1 or 2 shades darker. But yeah, it pretty much looks very, very similar. The camera bump is definitely bigger. Everything looks bigger just a little bit. Not anything too crazy, but it is definitely bigger by just a tad. Not as big of a jump when we went from the 12 Pro to the 13 Pro. That was a huge jump. I remember in that first video, I was really astonished at how much larger the camera bump was. But on this, yeah, the camera bump is only a little bit larger. Now that is a concern for wireless chargers because the bigger the camera bump gets, the harder it is to line up the phone on a wireless charger. But we'll see. That's one of the complaints I had with this phone. I've moved pretty much all my chargers to MagSafe now, so I don't have too much of an issue anymore. But yeah, it's just something to keep in mind. I don't know if the Apple logo is bigger. Yes, the Apple logo is a little bit bigger. I mean, the phone itself, I think, is it the same size? Yeah, the phone is the same size pretty much. I say it's the same size. It's probably a millimeter like bigger in every sort of dimension basically. The thickness though remains the same, but you can see here, this actually shows quite well how much larger the camera bump is on the 14 Pro compared to the 13 Pro. So let's actually peel this thing, shall we? Nice, there we are. And up top we can instantly see that dynamic island up there. We have the little island, oh there we go, now you can probably see it. But yeah, that is the dynamic island. That's probably the biggest sort of change that Apple are talking about, and it's just such an Apple thing to do, let's be honest. When the notch came out, that was such a big deal. Everyone was talking about the notch, and I feel like Apple clearly just do this sort of thing on purpose. Like there's no denying it. Like, they could have easily just gone for maybe a little pill design or something, or maybe something in the corner, but Apple being Apple, they have to do something a bit different from everyone else. So yeah, they have the dynamic island this year, and yeah, the dynamic island it's interesting. I think the most interesting thing for me is how they've turned the dynamic island into basically a feature. Usually most phones, most other sort of phone manufacturers are trying to get rid of the selfie camera, any sort of sensors or anything like that. They're trying to hide it, put it under the display or whatever. But Apple are turning it into a feature, which is just a very typical Apple thing to do. The designers who have taken this and turned it into a feature, I commend them, because that's actually a very difficult thing to do. I'm a designer myself, a UI designer. I know how difficult it is to design something completely from scratch, something that's never really been done before, to this sort of degree anyway. So yeah, it's pretty incredible what they've done with it. I'm really impressed by it. Other features also now include the always on lock screen, which something, let's be honest, Android has had forever. I don't know why it took so long to come over to iPhone, but a few people have been sort of bringing up the issue with the always on lock screen, and that's the fact that it looks like your phone is pretty much always on. You can see a dimmed version of the wallpaper. Everything on the lock screen is shown, so it looks like your phone is on, and a lot of people have been distracted by that. I might end up turning it off, I'll see, because I have my Apple Watch anyway. I wear my Apple Watch and I have notifications and stuff coming to that. So yeah, I think to myself, will I really want the always on lock screen? I'll try it, of course, see what it's like, but I'm just hoping it's not too distracting. The thing I'm most interested in though is the cameras on this thing, with it being bumped up to 48 megapixels on the main camera anyway. That is really interesting to me. I love taking pictures with my iPhone 13 Pro. It's one of the things that is so important to me when it comes to a phone. I want one of the best cameras on there. And according to Apple, the sensor on it is also 65% larger, which is a big difference. That should let in a lot more light, give you cleaner pictures. However, I have seen some reviews especially some photography reviews of this, and the pictures actually don't seem that much better compared to the 13 Pro. There isn't as much of a jump as people were expecting. That's something I want to test myself, see what it's like, see what the picture quality is like, see what sort of pictures I can get out of it, because I take a lot of pictures and I'm hoping that this can be better than the 13 Pro. Otherwise, I'm going to be disappointed, because that is really one of the main reasons why I upgrade every year. I just want the camera updates. I want the latest and greatest when it comes to the camera. I also wanted to thank Rhino Shield for sponsoring this video. Rhino Shield make cases and screen protectors for all types of devices, and they've just launched new cases for all of the new iPhones. Their cases can provide various degrees of protection, but I have the solid suit case here. It's a minimalistic case that's ideal for everyday use. It's 3mm thin and only weighs 30 grams, but it's still strong enough to protect your phone from accidental drops, scrapes, and scratches. It's MagSafe compatible too, and the magnets in it are twice the strength of Apple's official MagSafe products. The solid suit can also be customized on the Rhino Shield website. You can choose case color, material, and even add print design if that's your thing, so you can have the case that suits your style. Considering how expensive these phones are, it's always worth having a case on your phone to protect your investment. Rhino Shield not only make cases for the new iPhone, they also have cases for previous iPhones and other devices such as the Apple Watch and AirPods. So make sure to check out Rhino Shield. If you use the code OLIA, you can get 20% off in the first week. I'll also leave a link down in the description below. So I haven't actually gotten into the rest of the box. So in the box, of course, we have all the usual documentation, the SIM card pin thing, the Apple sticker, and of course we have the Lightning to USB-C cable. Again, I am disappointed this year that we don't have USB-C on the new iPhone. Getting pictures, videos of this thing, especially if you're recording ProRes video, high quality video, it just takes forever, and it would have really been nice to see USB-C on this phone. All the other devices are turning to USB-C. I'm not sure why we haven't got it yet. Because my iPhone is a UK model, I do have the SIM card tray. I know the US models don't have a SIM card tray anymore. You only have the eSIM. Now, eSIM is an interesting choice by Apple, but I think it's actually a good choice because I currently use eSIM on my iPhone 13 Pro. I have one SIM, my personal use, and then I have another eSIM for business use. And it's just really useful, especially when I go abroad as well, being able to switch to an eSIM, being able to use apps like Airelo or other apps like that, being able to use those sort of eSIMs abroad. Yeah, I just save a lot of money. So I know a lot of people are quite hesitant with the eSIM sort of situation, but I think most people will be fine. And with Apple making their US iPhones eSIM only, I feel like that will really push other sort of mobile carriers and networks to use eSIM as well. They've also updated the chip in this thing. It's now an A16 Bionic. However, by looking at the benchmarks and what other people have put online, it's not really too much of a jump from the A15 on the 13 Pro. I think most people will be completely fine. You won't really see too much of a huge sort of power or performance difference going from something like this to this. But if you are going from maybe an iPhone 10 or earlier, or maybe even an iPhone 11, yeah, you might see some big sort of performance improvements. I feel like the battery improvements will be the best thing about upgrading to phones like this, because the batteries just keep getting better and better. iPhones weren't really known to have good batteries, but now I feel like they can easily last a day as long as you're not a super heavy user. One of the things I was most looking forward to though was the color change to space black, but as you can see there really isn't too much of a difference. That's quite disappointing. I was expecting it to be a lot darker. Now I think it still looks awesome. I do like this color. I just would have preferred a much darker looking iPhone. I really liked the sort of matte black iPhone. I think you could get it on the iPhone 7 or iPhone 8 or something like that. You can get a matte black iPhone back then, and it would have been cool to have something like that. Even if it's not matte black, it would have been cool just to have like a satin black or something. But yeah, 13 Pro, 14 Pro, and the color difference really isn't that much really. It just looks very, very similar. I don't think most people will really be able to tell. I think what you can tell is the subtle things like the Apple logo being bigger and the camera bump being bigger as well. So that's it for this unboxing. I'll be using this phone over the next couple of weeks. I will have a review of it on the channel, of course. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter and subscribe for more.